Afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Monday, June 24th, 2024 regular council meeting. The time is 5 p.m. We would respectfully acknowledge that the land on which we gather is the unceded ancestral territory of the Silks Okanagan peoples and the Splatseen of the Secwepemc Nation. We're moving to adoption of the agenda. Like a mover that the June 24th, 2024 agenda for the regular council meeting be adopted. Mover, Councillor Dropoulos, seconder, Councillor Wayner. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And adoption of the minutes, that the May 28th, 2024 minutes of the City of Armstrong Special Council meeting be adopted. A mover, Councillor Todd, seconder, Councillor Dropoulos. Any questions? All those in favor? Carried unanimously. And that the June 3rd, 2024 minutes of the City of Armstrong regular council meeting be adopted. A mover, please. Councillor Wayner, second Councillor Valstar. I didn't note any errors or omissions. All those in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving on. Committee of the Whole recommendations. On June the 5th, 2024, the Committee of the Whole met and created a resolution that the Committee of the Whole recommends the Council direct staff to update the draft zoning bylaw number 1921-2024 to include a residential 1R1 zone that allows the maximum density of 4 units and a second residential 2R2 zone that allows a sliding scale of density of 4 units for the first 420 meters squared, plus an additional unit every 150 meters squared. That was accepted by council, and there was lots of discussion about that. It seemed to be fit the need for our community. So the motion is that staff to update the draft zoning bylaw number 1921-2024 to include a residential 1R1 zone that allows a maximum density of 4 units and a residential 2R2 zone that allows a sliding scale density of 4 units for the first 420 meters squared, plus an additional unit every 150 meters squared. Do we have a mover? Councillor Dropoulos, thank you. Seconder, Councillor Wayner. Was there any further discussion on that? I think we were all quite satisfied. Thank you for your hard work, Lori. I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And this will carry unanimously. And next, I guess we will ask Ms. Faulkner to come up and give us the 2023 annual report. Janine?
Yeah. Hello, Council. So I'm just going to do a quick presentation for our 2023 annual report. It's included in your agenda package in all its glory, but we're just going to run over the contents of the report for now. See if our new clicker works, even though we had IT come in last week. Let's see. Oh, look at that. Yes. Okay. So first we'll start with the general purpose. So the purpose of the annual report is to really see what the city accomplished in 2023. What I always like to say is the annual report is the first place you want to go when you want to learn about a city. It really tells you from stem to stern what a city has done in the year. It also provides a little bit of a glimpse forward as to what we're hoping to do in the following year, which is 2024. Also, the annual report covers 2 pieces of legislation. So we have a piece in the Community Charter and also a piece in the Financial Information Act. Our annual report does both. Some places will do 2 different reports for each section of legislation, but we combine it into one just to make it easier on ourselves. So to start off the annual report starts with the message from our mayor. And we also have a message from our CAO. Oh, if you can't see it, I'm blocking that message there. But it just it steps us off as to what we're going to do in 2023. The next large component of the annual report is an update on our strategic plan. So in 2023, we were able to complete a number of projects and initiatives, and we were able to, under all strategic focus areas. So we have our 5 strategic focus areas and what we accomplished in 2023 under each of those in case someone's reading. And next, we just quickly talk about the 2024 goals. So they're not as detailed in the report as they were as the accomplishments. We've also talked a lot about these in our budget setting process early in the year. So some of these are already been completed. Council will see we've done a few of them already, and most of them are already well underway. The next part of the is the department updates. So we have a summary from each department. The reports have been drafted by each manager that are here today, and they highlight not only what the department is responsible for, but also what's happened in 2023. So again, it allows the reader to really understand the services that we provide. So we also have planning and RCMP on top of that, and then Public Works to round it out the updates. The next part of the annual report is the financial information. So this is kind of commonly known as the SOFI. The financial information that is included in the report is required to be disclosed to the public. It must be approved by council, and then we submit it to the province. So we'll be doing that tomorrow. Finally, is the statistics. So we have a bunch of different community statistics that are provided there. I didn't put them up. Those are just the categories. And they're also provided a 5-year comparison in the report to kind of show where we're trending. And you can also see a lot of these statistics in lots of other communities as well. So you can see how we benchmark against everybody else. So the next step is to open the floor for public comment. We have not received any public comment or questions since it's been open for the 2 weeks as required. And then in the agenda, it's just the approval of the annual report by council.
Thank you, Janine. At this time, I will open the floor to any members of the public who have any questions regarding the 2023 annual report. Looking out to our vast room. Patty, did you have anything you wanted to ask us? No, okay. Very good. Just a reminder to anybody viewing that if you did not have the opportunity, all the information is available on the City of Armstrong website, and there's a link to the report. And if there are any questions, feel free to pass them on through staff, and we'll try to provide those answers. So I'll have a motion that the 2023 Statement of Financial Information and Annual Report be approved as presented by Councillor Fowler, second Councillor Drapula. Any questions? All those in favor? And this will be carried unanimously. Thank you, Janine. Next, I'm going to ask Ms. Lowe to take over the departmental updates for June 2024.
Thank you, Your Worship. So we have departmental updates for June 2024. We're going to start with corporate services updates from Philippa. She's going to do them. We're breaking them out now into two different. We're doing the legislative updates and then the communications updates as well.
Good evening, Council. So legislatively, first off, reminder for those of you that have not let us know yet, UBCM registration opens up next week. So we do need to know either Emily or myself whether you wish to attend or not. And then at some point I will be hot on your heels to find out what you want to actually attend at the meeting. So if we can all get that information to me as soon as possible, that would be fantastic. Since our last meeting, we have done the public notification for the annual report, which was required by the charter, along with notification for our proposed zoning bylaw that's coming before council tonight as well. We've also been working on the water conversation. There was a lot of conversation, I'm going to be honest, on the conservation bylaw, and we also updated the MTI bylaw just to match up so everything is working as it should be, and contacted, as you know, through, I sent an email out to all Canada Post. But just so the public is aware, we are doing what we can. This change was coming anyway. The request by Spalmsheen, as it is stated in the first letter that was sent out, just sort of sped the process up a little bit for us. So they decided to do all the changes all at once instead of piecemeal. And the urban centers have already been done, so now it's our turn. I understand another letter was sent out last week. So from that, what we are going to do is we're going to try and do our best to make this as easy on our residents as we can. So we're going to reach out to land titles, BC assessment, see if they can do a mass update, which will come into our system, which will take at least that major step off of our residents' shoulders. Unfortunately, we have, as a municipality, no say in the matter. We were not actually informed that it was happening. We knew as soon as the residents found out the letter. But we are definitely doing what we can to sort of make the process a little bit smoother for our residents. For communications, we've been rocking and rolling with that again. And our guru for that is Emily, who has joined us this evening. She does all of our social media. She set up our Instagram for us, writing a lot of the press releases for us, as well as trying to learn all of our legislative stuff on top. So we're keeping her quite busy. And tonight she's just sort of shadowing. So hopefully she'll be able to start taking minutes at some point. We'll start with committees and move up from there. So when we also shared a lot of other pages, such as our Parks and Rec. So we like to let people know what's happening on the weekend, and anytime the fire department has a post, we like to get that up as well. And that is us.
I'm wondering if this might not be a bad time to bring something up. We're pretty excited about all the landscaping that's happening here, and will be a legacy for all of us in the future, but there's a fair amount of controversy out there about why are we putting in lawn? Why are we putting in trees? Well, isn't that awful expensive? Blah, blah, blah. I'm just wondering, because we have such a great communications department now, if it might be possible to put out some kind of a posting explaining that our landscaping was, we have some grants that were available that we received, two in specific from the Okanagan Basin Water Board and the Okanagan Xeriscape Association, who also helped guide us to have a drought tolerant landscape, and the trees and the grass are a part of that once they're established, using the right species. I gotta quit drinking like this. I just wonder if we were able to put out some kind of a messaging, maybe it would calm some of the concerns that people have, that yes, we do realize that with climate change and with our concerns about drought, that we are absolutely taking that into consideration, and that our landscaping will be something we'll be very proud of, and educational for the community as well.
Through the mayor.
That wasn't a recommendation. That was a suggestion.
And all the details to go with it, which is
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. I mean,
Um,
we can pad it really well because we've followed these things to the T right from the time we started planning it, even the mulch and the whole bit. So I think it's a really good news story, but it's not being seen as a good news story.
Not yet. Our intention
Yes.
is to change that.
Yes.
What we want to do is make sure we had something, a really good picture to go with it.
Awesome.
So once things are settled, we've got a few spots now that should have a really good shot, and then we can include all of the environmental information and help get that word out about the grant funding, and just sort of a follow-up. Have a look at this, look at what happened, this is how we do it, this is what's here, and explain the process from beginning to end now that we're wrapping up to completion on
Perfect.
it.
Even like a progress report so that, people can understand, and I don't want to
Mhm.
see heart attacks around town because we have landscaping. So I think it's just a really good idea. Thank you.
Thank you. Finance Department updates from Janine Felker, please.
Just a quick collection update from myself since the last meeting. So we did have our large utility billing period close on June 6th. So that's both semi-annual and quarterly invoices. That's pretty much everybody, or it is everybody in town. 87% of that was collected by the due date, which is actually in line with our previous collection stats. Property taxes and homeowner grants are due July 2nd. We keep trying to get that message across. So as of this report, we were 54%, but as of today, we're almost at 70. So today was a big pickup. A lot of payments were made over the weekend as well, and we'll start to see our bigger corporate taxpayers pay this week as well. So that will be great. And it is within range. We'll be close to 90%, hopefully by the 2nd.
Good work. Thank you. Community, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, Janine, is that, is that 70% of revenues or 70% of folios?
Revenues.
Revenues, okay.
Community services and emergency program updates, Mr. Smith.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Under community services, staff have started working with IPE staff on their annual requests. There were changes, just to remind you, over last year, so these requests are coming now directly to staff. We've recognized that there will be some slight changes this year to the IP parade because of some structural changes taking place within Okanagan, as well as also down at the Adair treatment site. So we are working with their staff, and they're supportive of coming to positive solutions on both those circumstances. Just over a week ago, staff participated in applied reception center training out at Okanagan Indian Band. This program was a great opportunity to work with a number of staff throughout the North Okanagan, but particularly with the Okanagan Indian Band and their staff and their volunteers to strengthen those communication and working opportunities. So there were some good discussions and references to some of the things that we had challenges in, as well as successes with the White Rock Lake fire. But it was a very good day, and it was time very well spent. We have completed facility inspections, 3 of 4 sites. We have, with me being off past week, we weren't able to complete doing the Thomas Hayes site, but we'll be completing inspection of those sites next week to meet our work safe requirements. Bylaw officers, in response to requests for support from conservation services, have been doing some evening patrols on Monday and Tuesday nights. There were 4 sessions that were held, and out of those 4 sessions, there were 163 violations that had occurred. Education was provided to most of those individuals, either through handout of a leaflet, doing door knocks, and in-person conversations and that. So things were met fairly responsibly, and we've seen a change around. They'll be completing 2 more sessions tonight and tomorrow night, and then we anticipate we should be able to wrap that up. There were some individuals that don't understand and find it difficult maybe to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning and would rather do it the night before. But they are now very much aware of the consequences and the impact that these types of decisions can have. Conservation is going to continue to monitor our community and respond to if we should see an increase in bear activity again. Lastly, Councillor Todd attended on May 28th. I believe, to the Make Water Work campaign and the launch for that program that we'll be participating in this year. We look forward to working with our community members, providing education to them on the different ways that we can make water work effectively for ourselves within our gardens, and the general use that we use for with whether it's washing our car or cleaning something. There are effective ways of being able to do that. So we will be doing some campaign and education work through our social media, and the OBW also has a very strong communication package that comes with this program. So we will be working with them on that program throughout the summer. And hopefully we bring home back our championship again this year.
Thanks, Warren. I just wanted to say that I was one of the people that, that by law stopped by one evening. I put out my garbage can, but there is no food waste in my garbage can. And it's just going to be a change of habit to, I put out my food waste in the morning, and I guess I can do both at once. But it was done in a very respectful way, and it was a good learning experience, and no ill intent was done as a result of it. Remember that a fed bear is a dead bear, and we can all change.
Thanks. Mr. Ackerman, Public Works updates.
Just a quick update on our flows.
halfway through, but water-wise plant material, but there is the benefit of trees and having that canopy to reduce air temperatures, reduce the cooling and heating requirements on this building. The benefit of having grass, and it's a fescue blend, which is drought tolerant. The inputs for water are dramatically less than varieties such as Kentucky bluegrass and ryegrass. And it is a filtration for storm water, and again, does help cool that environment that we live in. The plants are all water-wise. The mulch that we have used, they're pollinators for bees and beneficial insects. The mulch provides overwintering habitat, so there is that component of being water-wise and using water judiciously. And our drip irrigation system is designed to do that, deliver it effectively where it's needed at the plant root base. But it's also about creating that environment for those beneficial insects and reducing the effects of heat domes. All plants require water, and it's just how you deliver that water to those plants. So there's a lot of benefits to this landscape, and it is a unique landscape. And as we get going with our communications program and some opportunities to partner with OBWB for some on-site education days, I think there's a great opportunity for the community to be proud of the asset that we have here and continuing to take a leading edge in delivering sustainable landscapes and using water wise. So just wanted to reinforce what Councillor Fowler had brought up.
Thanks, Brad. And what a great idea it was to wait for that year and get out of our drought last spring and summer when we probably expected to have the landscaping put in. And this year we have the opportunity to make sure that these plants get the moisture they need to get started, because it always takes a little bit more that first year and then you see the benefits. But anyway, I didn't need to carry on about that. I have one other little thing I wanted to mention to everybody. I just received a write-up for the Invasive Species Day that we had. It was a huge success, and I've been asked to thank Public Works for taking care of the bags of burdock, I believe it was, that were left there. And probably, I'm not sure, were there more bags up at the other end that had the red, yellow iris in them, but whatever, thank you for that. I believe it's the BC Invasive Species that supplied the bags, because they are a heavier duty bag, and these things have to be disposed of in a certain way, so you're not just spreading the wealth. So thank you. And I have this write-up. It's really quite cute, so I'll send it to, maybe everybody will get a kick out of reading it. There was about 50 volunteers on site for the day, and there was classes from PBSS, thank you, and also AES, who did the buddy system and were guided with people, Laura from BC Invasives and Dr. Fish, Kim Fulton, and Jill De La Salle from her Armstrong Wetlands and her group. So it was a real big success. And I asked Kim yesterday, actually, if he thought that there was an opportunity to have another one or do this annually, whatever. And he's pretty keen about staying on top of it, especially when he gets so much help from all the groups and organizations in town that need to be there to participate. So probably more of an educational session coming up sometime in the future as well, and helping people identify invasives that they may have on their properties and not even aware of it. Thank you for your help.
Thank you, Brad. Ms. Cordell for Planning Services.
Good evening, Council. My update isn't really long because you've been involved in all the projects that I've been working on. We just are continuing to work with the consulting team on Kerry to meet the requests that Council made at the last Committee of the Whole meeting, and we are hoping to have that back for the July 15th meeting. And no further updates on that. We're just working on it. But I did want to just update Council that because we've had some additional meetings and been doing some additional work on the zoning bylaw and the Kerry project, we've kind of deprioritized the OCP a little bit to give us more time to spend focusing on it, reading it. I have a draft of it on my desk now that I'm going through, and we'll bring it back to Council for your opportunity to review it in August. our goal, our target right now. And on June 13th, we were notified that the Ministry of Land, Water and Resource Stewardship approved the Armstrong Wetland Association's application to construct their pond. So that's good news for them, and that falls in line with council's resolution to support the project. Staff will continue to work with them to get that sorted out. And that's it for me.
Sorry. So we had a presentation here a few months ago about some people who were concerned with that project. And I've organized a coffee break for one of each of the groups to sit and try to understand what's going on and perhaps take away some of the fears that may or may not have been there. So hopefully that will move forward without controversy.
Excellent. Okay. Thank you. And that concludes our updates, Your Worship.
Thank you, Ms. Lowe. And moving on to presentation reports. Brad, if we could have you back to the microphone regarding the water use and conservation bylaw and the municipal ticket information amendment that goes hand in hand. We'll go with your presentation start. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted to bring forward the water conservation, or water use and conservation bylaw update. Earlier this year, I came forward with a report to council to talk about steps that staff are taking to deal with the drought response and our water use within the community. And one of the recommendations that came out of that was the resolution by council to incorporate the proposed water restriction stages and bring forward that report to council for consideration. And we are here tonight to review that. So staff went through and looked at the water use and conservation bylaw from 2017 and looked at ways we can improve that to deal with the drought conditions that we've been facing in the region for the last couple of years. We've had some discussions with the various ministries with the province on steps that we can take to try and reduce our water consumption, manage some of those critical ecosystems and species at risk, and came up with some recommendations in those discussions that we have looked to incorporate to the water use and conservation bylaw. One of the big steps is having our bylaw restriction stages mirror the regional drought ratings. That's a good indication on the overall picture of water and the ecosystem in the area. And it has that sliding scale. So it makes sense. It's a way to have kind of a set trigger for when water restrictions come in and when they come back out versus just arbitrary decisions. So it does help give us that tool, and those steps have a bigger impact on the region outside of our municipal boundaries as well. So the water restriction stages have 5 for the province. 0 through 3 are basically our stage 1. Stage 2 is category 4 drought. And then stage 5 is the highest level, and that is our stage 3 water conservation measure. The next thing we looked at is ways we could have our water conservation steps be a little bit more workable for the community. Under our previous bylaw, it was you could water every other day, water everything, and then we go to stage 2, and it was just a drastic shift from what you could do. So we've looked to ways that we can make this a little bit flexible for property owners to be able to manage their landscape accordingly. Turf obviously has some different requirements for water usage, and as we get to the various stages of water conservation and drought, the amount of water available for turf dramatically reduces. Trees and landscape plant material has a little bit more provisions to keep that plant material alive and thriving through a drought. And a lot of that comes down to delivery of water through drip irrigation system or micro drip systems to be able to put that volume of water to the root mass of the plant where it's needed, rather than doing a broadcast water to a landscape. And as we look to people's desires for food security and being able to grow their own foods, we've allowed additional mechanisms for people to be able to maintain their gardens during the various drought restriction phases to keep that vegetable crops on their tables. We all see it when we go to the grocery store. Groceries are going up and fresh fruits and that kind of stuff. So be able to have a garden at home, to be able to produce that. We have some provisions in there now to be able to maintain that through the drought, which whereas before we didn't quite have that mechanism. The bylaw changes do speak to, again, just promoting water conscious irrigation systems, low pressure, adequate gallons per minute to be able to maintain, but not overwater, and the use of micro drip and those type of water conservation irrigation that targets that placement of water. And moving to a odd and even watering schedule, 3 days a week based upon your house number itself will see us have a significant reduction in our overall water consumption right off the top. So the changes that we've made and allowing more flexibility is something that I think we will get a lot more uptake by the community, because it's not so restrictive in nature. It still allows people that opportunity to help maintain their yard, but reducing their overall consumption. As always, hand watering is promoted. If you have a nozzle with a hand trigger on it, that it can be used at any time through the conservation stages, and just making people more aware of that valuable resource. We did a couple other housekeeping adjustments to the bylaw. Section 4 just kind of clarifies the city's authority under the bylaw. And this allows for the chief administrative officer or myself as the operations manager to determine if there has been violations to the bylaw, and then take those appropriate steps to work with the property owner to ensure that they're rectified. It does allow us that ability, if we do not get compliance, that we can take additional steps to correct the water issue so the water is not lost and wasted, and then collect those costs to undertake that work from the property owners, similar to the way we collect our taxes. And we also do have that ability, if we have any instances where modifications to a system put our drinking water system at supply, we do have that ability to go on and take the appropriate actions to protect our water system. Section 7 of the bylaw, we've updated that just with placing newspaper ads now is not as easy as it once was. We don't have our local newspapers. We have updated the city's of Armstrong's alternative means of publication bylaw 1919 in 2024. And this allows us new means to notify the public of when water restrictions are in place and when they're removed. And it clarifies that communications vehicle for the city to deliver that information. Under Section 7, we've also retained the right to further enact water restrictions due to emergencies, water quality issues, or other related scenarios outside of the water conservation steps. So that deals with a major water break, water turbidity issues. We still have that ability to enact those under the new bylaw. And part of the update as well, we removed the schedule for the MTI tickets from the water use and conservation bylaw and added those as a schedule within the municipal ticket information amendment bylaw, which is before you tonight as well, to transfer that schedule over to the appropriate bylaw for enforcement if it comes to that. The main thing with our water use and conservation bylaw is the educational and awareness within the community, and we will continue to work with our communications department to deliver that information to the public in a way that's not 10 pages of bylaw jargon, but a one-page infographic so you can see visuals of what's permitted under the various stages of conservation. And it's something that can hang on our fridge or in the garden shed or somewhere noticeable, and it's easy for people to reference quickly and understand what's applicable at various stages of the conservation methods, as well as having some tips on how to properly water, and having that document something that hopefully our residents will refer to often throughout the summer months. And we have the two recommendations coming from the report, which I will leave to the mayor to.
Just before you do the recommendations, so I see in the write-up, there was, I think it referred to the city of Armstrong and provincial and regional partners. So when you talk of regional partners, are those who we supply bulk water to? And do they have the same rules and regulations, restrictions? Do they follow that? I just forget how that contract went. Do they have the same ones as we do? Or do they have their own, or are they following the same restrictions?
Yeah, through your worship, they have that ability under their water control bylaw. It does mirror ours very closely. And we do work with them on when we enable our water conservation restrictions, and they typically follow that same suit. And we still have that relationship not only with the Township of Spalding Machine, but regular communications with the RDNO, City of Enderby, just so we're sharing that same information of what steps we're taking and what steps they're taking.
Thanks, Brad. So, sorry, that we'll go with the water use and conservation bylaw number 1926. 2024 will be given the first, second, and third readings. Mover, Councillor Dropla, seconder, Councillor Fowler, thank you. Was there any further questions for Brad regarding this? No, I think it's well written. I really like the document, and it cast a wide net around water usage, and I think that was really good. Really good. Protect our environment too with the invasive species component that's in there. So well done. On that, I'll call the vote. All those in favor? And that will be carried unanimously. And second, that the municipal ticket information amendment bylaw number 1927, 2024 be given first, second, and third readings. A mover, Councillor Todd, seconder, Councillor Nietzsche. Thank you. Was there any questions on that? Then I will call the vote. All those in favor? Also carried unanimously. Thank you very much, Brad. And next, planning services. Lori, I guess you're coming to talk to us again.
Thank you, Your Worship. I have despite my joking earlier, short presentation about the zoning bylaw. Just to quickly walk you through the bylaw before adoption. I really, in this presentation, highlighted the pieces that the province is wanting to make sure council considers carefully as they move forward with adoption of the bylaw. And I have never used the clicker, so just the arrow, or it's not changing. No, it's lit up. Can you change that? Thank you. So just again, as a highlight, the major changes in this zoning bylaw from the previous zoning bylaw were to simplify the residential zones. So we have the rural and the agricultural zones. We have a medium density zone. We have the sliding scale, which is like a higher medium density zone, which kind of fits our townhouses. And then we have the apartment housing. The other major, I would call it major change, is we don't talk about the type of housing anymore. It's just a housing unit. So people can have up to 4 housing units. It could be a duplex with 2 suites. It could be a house with a suite and 2 carriage houses. The province has really requested us to do this to allow people flexibility to develop their lot, how it fits the lot. Additionally, we have an increase in the height allowance to 11 meters or 3 stories in the R1 zone, the medium density, and the sliding scale density, and then up to 14 meters or 4 stories for apartments. And then the only exemptions that we provide in the bylaw are for our existing heritage designated bylaws in accordance with the rules and what they allow. can you change the slide for me? So this table, I just really wanted to call out the places where we are slightly different from what the provincial recommendations are. I know I've discussed this with council, but I just want to make sure that you're very clear. In terms of the parking schedule, their recommendation is 1 spot per unit maximum, whereas we've allocated in the zoning bylaw the number of spots based on the number of bedrooms in each unit, and also when there are 10 units to have a visitor parking as well. So this is above and beyond, but as we all know, we aren't served well by transit. We're a rural community. People have large and many vehicles, and I think that we need to still have parking requirements a little higher than or more urban densities. Building heights. So the only place, so I'm flagging this, our A1 zone and our, what's that called? The country residential zone. I've left the building heights at what they are now, 9 meters, because those lots are so large. People don't need to go up higher to be able to fit their units on the lots. There's lots of room. They can fit them. There's no need to allow really tall buildings to make it fit. And then the same with the setbacks. I've changed them a little bit from where they were, but they're still quite a lot higher than the provincial recommendations. But again, those are urban dense recommendations. These are agricultural parcels with tons of space. Most of them are over 5 acres, so there's lots of room. Next slide, please. And then this is the same. This actually should have said country residential 1 building height and country residential 1 siding. And it's the same, exactly the same as the A1, but leaving it big because those are large parcels. There's enough room to fit. And they are only allowed 1 additional dwelling unit, not 4 as well, because they're larger parcels. In the R1 zone, I've recommended a higher front, rear, and side yard setback. Well, I think the side yard's okay. It's hard to tell. But because again, we just want a little more space. These parcels are bigger than the absolute minimum size the province has recommended. Our community is used to low density development. Having a little more space between houses isn't, I think, problematic for us. It creates some fire separation. Also, if there's an attached garage, we have a slightly bigger setback so that a truck can sort of fit in front of the garage. They'll likely still be kind of sticking out into the boulevard a little bit, but we know we have lots of vehicles again in Armstrong, so leaving a bit of room for that. Next slide, please. So this is the R2. It's the same as the R1, so we've just recommended slightly bigger setbacks than what the province recommended. And then in the apartment zone, they're different because it's an apartment zone, and really the recommendations of the province apply to those 4 unit zones. So they're quite a bit bigger because we're expecting 1 big building rather than multiple smaller buildings. Next slide, please. So just so that we're super clear about this, these are the properties that would apply to the heritage exemptions. They would still be allowed 2 units on site, so the main heritage protected house, and then if they wanted a carriage house, that would be allowed, but they aren't allowed up to 4 units the way the other properties are. And we have 7 of them in Armstrong, and I've listed them clearly here so that when we attach this to the province, they can see that. Next slide, please. So that is kind of the high level run through. I know we've talked about this before, but if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. This is our recommendation that we go all the way through to adoption tonight, and that will allow us to meet the provincial timeframes.
Thank you very much, Lori. So we'll start that zoning bylaw 1921-2024 be given first, second, and third readings. May I have a mover, please? Councillor Drapolis, seconder, Councillor Weiner. Was there any questions for Lori regarding that? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? This will be passed unanimously. And second, that zoning bylaw 1921-2024 be adopted. May I have a mover, please? Counselor Nietzsche, seconder, Counselor Fowler, thank you. Assuming there's no questions, all those in favor? And this too will be carried unanimously. Thank you, Lori. Thanks for all your hard work on that one.
Thank you, Your Worship.
And don't go far. Again, consideration of acceptance of the North Okanagan Regional Growth Strategy. You want to speak to that for us?
Sure. Thank you, Your Worship. So the Regional Growth Strategy is a document prepared by the Regional District that provides an outline of all the growth areas and the employment lands throughout the whole of the Regional District. The Regional District has been working on updating it for a very long time. And staff have been a part of that process. When I came into the process here in Armstrong, it was kind of late in the game. And we really focused on looking at what parcels were designated for growth area within the ALR. So those updates were all in there. It's been reflected the council resolution that was passed earlier. I did notice when we were reviewing them now that the mapping that they used for the employment lands was based on a pretty old official committee plan. They've already had a public hearing on this, so it's kind of too late to tackle that piece right now without causing quite a bit of confusion. The purpose of the employment lands information is just to show communities how much or how little employment lands they have. We really don't have a lot of employment lands. I think we know that. It doesn't fetter us from making decisions on employment uses on other lands. It's mostly just about awareness. So my recommendation is that we continue to work with them to make sure the mapping gets updated for the next review, which would not start for another 5 years after this one gets adopted. I think it's great that we're reaching this place, and I know the regional district staff has been working on this for a long time. I worked on it when I was in Vernon and then came over to work on it here.
Again, thank you very much, Lori. So that a letter be drafted to the regional district of the North Okanagan, including acceptance of the North Okanagan Regional Growth Strategy amended bylaw number 2923-2022, and that the letter requests that the employment lands for Armstrong be revisited and updated in the next review of the regional growth strategy mapping to reflect Armstrong's official community plans bylaw. We have a mover on that. Councillor Drapla, second one, Councillor Todd. Is there any questions for Lori regarding that? Seeing none, I will call the vote. All those in favor? And this will be carried also. Thank you, Lori. Moving along. Under correspondence, we did receive from the Regional District of the North Okanagan regarding Bill 44, Housing Statutes Amendment Act, and the unintended consequences. I think we've all read that, so we'll just show that it received at this point in time. Also from Interior Health, we read the extreme heat and wildfires, also received. 8.3, Armstrong Spalding Chamber of Commerce, read concerns and recommendations for bylaw amendments. I'd like to put forward the concerns from the Armstrong Spalding Chamber of Commerce be referred to staff for review. Can I have a mover? Councillor Todd, thank you. Second, Councillor Valstar, thank you. Was there any questions on that? Councillor Drapla.
Sure, I'd just like to make a comment. Being the rep for the chamber and being present for some of those conversations that were happening with the board early on. The intention around it is really just to honor the businesses that exist in town already and some of how our bylaws hurt those businesses during the IPE specifically. And so they're not looking to open up the door for new people to come in. It's just kind of trying to make sure that it's fair for our current businesses that are in operation during the IPE. So I'm confident that as staff review it, that we'll be able to come to an agreement between the two.
Thank you, Councillor Drapla. Was there any other comments? Seeing none, then I will call the vote. All those in favor? And that's carried unanimously, referred back to staff. Next, correspondence from the Okanagan Basin Water Board as received. And I hope everybody had an opportunity to read from the City of Kamloops, Office of the Mayor, the support for downloading costs on municipalities. It was a really good read. I don't think that we have the manpower or resources, nor are affected as greatly as they are. So I will move that we just show that as received also. And if at such a point in time we want to delve into that, then we can bring it up again. Councillor Fowler.
It might, I don't know, but it might be interesting to see if there's some recommendations that come forward to UBCM. And maybe that's a time at which we could discuss ahead of time our thoughts on it.
Yes, certainly. I would anticipate that we will see some resolutions from this going through to UBCM, and when we become made aware of them, certainly we can throw our support behind them. Once again, a good read, and I think we're all supportive of their concerns. Anything further on that? Further comments? Good. Next, we received our reports from Armstrong Spelling Fire Department for the month of June. I had hoped that Chief McKechnie was going to stop by and give us a quick rundown, but that's not going to happen tonight, which is fine. We'll note that overall incidences are down a little bit. They're managing over there and getting prepared for what we hope is not a busy July and August fire season. And that information is all there and available from the public. Membership is doing well. I don't know what else. Oh, Councilor Weiner, thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a comment. The Bill Pavel Award is the only award that the fire department gives out, the all-around participating firefighter. And I just wondered if we had an opportunity to put that on our website, just to say the recipients were Scott Jensen and Chris Brown, and just to congratulate them on receiving the award. Do we need a motion for that, or?
You're just suggesting we use communications to push that out?
Correct.
City communications? Yeah, we could do that for you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, and I certainly support that. Sorry for skipping over it. Thanks for catching me on that. And great work to those gentlemen and for all the time that they're providing the service to our communities. And to that note, it's time to move to an in-camera closed session. So I'll be looking for a motion that council move to an in-camera pursuant to the Community Charter Section 90, subsection 1, subsection K, negotiations related discussions respecting the proposed provision of a municipal service that are either at their preliminary stages and that, in the view of the council, could reasonably be expected to harm the public interests of the municipality if they were held in public. Mover, Councillor Todd, seconder, Councillor Drapla. All those in favor? Carried unanimously, and we will close this session and move on to our in-camera session. Thank you, Patty, for coming out tonight.